Hello crafty cuties and welcome to today's video. I'm really excited because today we're just going to have a laid back crafting time together and we are going to do some decoupaging. I know a lot of you have done decoupaging before, and for those of you that haven't, it's really easy and we're just going to go over a few different ways to do it. I'm going to show you what the different outcomes would be to decoupage on different things. So I am actually going to use some of the items that would have come in the little embellishment pack if you had got the kit. If you did not get the kit and you just got the video course, it's really simple, basic things, and you probably already have some of them around your house. So I am going to use a few of the napkins, and I have I have 4 of them here just because I'm actually going to be testing out a few different things. But you would have got 1 or 2 napkins if you had got the kit. And we are going to do some decoupaging on these lovely manila tags. I also wanted to go ahead and try decoupaging on this bag, and if you got the kit as well, you would have actually got one of these bags with the little flowers in them, and although she taped it with washi, you can easily pull that up and reuse this bag. And then I'm also going to try out a little Glassine bag, and this was just one for my stash, but yeah, you can try decoupaging on many different surfaces. Today I am going to use Mod Podge, but you can use any white glue, even Elmer's glue is fine. And if we have time, we may go ahead and just test out what the Tombow aqua glue would be like. And we're just going to go ahead and get started. I am going to put some white paper down just because it can get a little messy. And we're just hopping in. So I'm going to take some of my Mod Podge. I have the matte, but you could try the glossy for a really pretty effect. And I'm just going to pour some of my Mod Podge into a little container here. Now you can use the Mod Podge just like this, but I like to add a little bit of water. So I'm just going to add just a few drops to thin it out, and that's just a preference. You can absolutely play around with adding water, not adding water, and see what you like. I just like the effect that I get better when it's a little bit wetter. So we will start with that, and I think we'll just go ahead and do a tag just to make it very easy. And I'm going to use this really pretty napkin right here. So to start out, what you want to do is unfold your napkin, and we're actually going to take the pieces apart here. So most of these napkins, I believe, are like a 2-ply, and we just want the very first layer that has the print. And when you're picking out napkins, I wanted to also mention, look for a napkin that has a print on not only the front but the back, because you will get a lot more use out of it that way. So this can be a little tricky, but there are a few tricks to it. If you take a piece of sticky tape, and I don't have any nearby, so I'm just going to try washi and see if that works. You should be able to go ahead and place this on the back side, and then it will help you kind of pull those pieces apart, because some of the napkins are actually kind of embossed together, but not all of them. So if you're having trouble, try that little trick with a piece of tape. You can save this part for a different art project. And I am just going to pick a side or an area that I want to work with. And oh, this is so pretty. So I'm just going to kind of play around and put this on our tag and see what areas I could get. Okay, so I like this. It is going to waste a little bit around the side, but again, you don't have to worry. You can always save your extra pieces and use them like in an art journal or whatnot. So because I don't want to be working with this really big piece here, I am going to go ahead and just tear this down a bit so that we can just have a smaller piece to work with. I haven't quite measured it out perfectly yet. And if you guys know the way that I craft, I like to do things really simple, so you could cut this down to exact size, but I'm not going to do that. Okay, that looks about right. So what we're going to do is start by taking a thin layer and gluing your tag. And I'm going to glue the entire thing all at once. And I'll show you a few different ways that we can also add some inks at the end as well. Okay, so now what you want to do is lie your napkin down, and you want to do this a little careful because once it kind of hits that area, it's going to be really hard to move things around too much. So I'm going to try really hard here not to get that bird's head where the little hole is for the string. And just carefully smooth that out. However, I've played around with this before, and I honestly kind of like when it is a little, when it has some texture and it's not super flat. So you can decide what you prefer, but we'll just start out by doing that. And then I'm just going to go ahead and do another layer over the top, and that's going to kind of seal this in and really make the tag and napkin become one. So it's not just going to look like you glued a napkin onto a tag, it's really going to look like you have this tag that has this really pretty print. And I think that's part of the reason why I like to thin this down a bit. I just like the overall effect once we're done. Okay. So that's so simple, right? And now I'm going to just go ahead and remove all the edges. You can use scissors, but I'm actually just going to kind of tear because I don't mind the jagged edges. I kind of like it. And again, you can place that to the side and, you know, use it for a different project. And so I'm just going to continue doing this. I don't want to waste too much time on the little tedious steps in between, so I may skip through a few things as we go along, since you've kind of seen how I've done that now. And then what I do is I'll just take a little bit of that glue. I have nails, so I gotta be careful, and just kind of put that around the edges with my finger, but you could use your brush. It's just I guess I like kind of digging into my art projects with my fingers, and that's just going to kind of seal all of those sides and especially the jagged edges, and just kind of push them down. But if you want a really nice clean cut, I would definitely use scissors to kind of do that and just cut your edges nice and straight. There we go. So if you notice, I did decoupage just over that hole, or the little reinforced area, and I'm not going to worry about that now. I'm just going to let this dry, and then we can repunch a hole once it's dry. So now what you want to do is just set this to the side and let it dry. If you see down here, since I did tear this off, the manila tag is exposed a little bit down here. I'm not worried about that because I am going to ink up the edges once this is all dry, but I did want to mention that in case you were looking for the cleaner cut. By tearing it, you're probably not going to get that. But I'm going to set this aside, and you can use a heat gun to dry this if you want as well. I did go ahead and dry this with my heat gun, and I mentioned I was going to show you something that you can do with sprays. So if you want to add a little glimmer, a little shine, you can also spray these. Now you could go ahead, if you want to get real artsy, and use some darker sprays to get kind of that mixed media look. But I want something very subtle, and I just want to add a little bit of shimmer, so I'm actually going to use this Dilutions Mica Spray. You could use something like a glimmer mist or something that's kind of translucent but has shine. This one's really great. So I'm just going to go ahead and kind of spray this whole tag. And this is just going to add the perfect amount of shine. So I am going to go ahead and dry this with my heat gun again, and then we can ink up the edges. So now that is dry, I hope that you can see that shine. I'm pretty sure you can. It is gorgeous, and I feel like it gives it a much more finished look. So now I want to ink up the edges, and again, most of these steps are really optional, but I just want to show you what the looks what looks you can achieve by doing these. So I'm just using my Distress ink, but you can use any type of ink really, and I'm going to use the brown. And I'm just going to go around and kind of finish up these edges. If you notice that my tag's a little warped, I used that heat gun, and it is going to warp my tag a bit, but since it's dry, once I'm done doing this ink here, what I can do is just lie it down with some books on top and it will flatten out. So I'm not worried about that. And honestly, I kind of like that look, the warped out look. And I think a lot of you do too. So you can kind of see how this really just finishes that tag off. And you can really dress these up any way you want. You can sew around the edges. You can add different textures and layers if you'd like. But I kind of like leaving these kind of that one layer just by adding in some different color. Will give it the dimension that I like. And that one is done right here. So let's move on to decoupaging a few more things. Next up, we are going to decoupage onto a glassine bag, and I already have a piece of a 1-ply napkin right here. This one is really pretty, and we're just going to do the same exact thing. I'm going to go ahead and take that watered down Mod Podge, and I'm just going to do the front of this one because I will probably use it in a junk journal and I'll glue it down so you won't see the back, but you can absolutely decoupage a full bag and gives it a really nice look if you want to use it as just like a bag or a gift bag. And so now I'm just going to go ahead and place this down. I'm going to try to line that the top line up with the top of the glassine bag, so as straight as I can. And I kind of used a lot of Mod Podge on this one, but that's okay. And for this one, I'll go ahead and I'll actually just cut the excess off around it. Now I will just go ahead and do my second layer over the top. I'm going to try to not use so much here. Since I already used a lot, it's kind of coming through. And then right on top of this, I'm going to spray that mica spray, and I'm actually going to do that before I dry it just to see if there's any difference and see if I can just get away with using that heat gun just one time, just to kind of, you know, cut down on the warping that happens when you use your heat gun. If you want to let these just dry, you can just go ahead and kind of leave them out overnight and lay them flat, and you shouldn't have as much warping. There we go. This one is mostly dry, and I love this. I love decoupaging on top of glassine bags. You can even use bigger ones, and even if you have a smaller napkin, it looks kind of cool to just have a middle panel of, you know, an image from a napkin, so you can play around with that one too. But yes, I love this so much, so I'm going to set that to the side, and we're going to decoupage one more thing together. We will go ahead and decoupage this Kraft bag. I thought it would be fun to kind of play around with this one just a little bit, and we're going to add a couple layers. So I'm just going to use, this is just like one of the back sides of my napkin that didn't have a print, and I'm going to go ahead and decoupage this one on first. And I'm going to try to keep it kind of wrinkled and try not to add too much glue this time. But we're just going to see kind of what, I could have crumpled that up. I just realized I should have done that because that would kind of give us a more wrinkled look. And that's okay though. We'll just kind of go like that and do a thin layer over top. And I'm going to go ahead and just trim around the edges real quick just to get rid of that excess, but you can see I'm kind of using this to kind of let that get all, and there I even dug a hole in there, and that's okay. We're just going to try to create some texture with this one. So I'm going to go ahead and trim this around. I decided instead of trimming, I'm actually just going to kind of gather this around the edges just to see what kind of a look we can get. So then I'm going to take what I want to be for the final and place it over the top. I'm going to add a little bit more glue even though I just added a layer, but I want this to, you know, sit down nicely, as nice as it can, and stick for good. I'm going to make sure to go up as high as possible this time to make sure we get to the top. And I've never tried this method before with layering, so we're just playing around, just showing you that you can achieve different looks by trying out different things. And maybe we can add some ink to this one as well. And again, I'm just going to let that texture kind of happen as I glue down the sides. I'll go ahead and trim the top. Maybe I'll just fold that down actually as well. I have a spray that I think might be a little bit darker, so I'm going to spray this down in the corner and just see if we get any kind of cool effect, although this might not even work. So that was a fail. I know that this one's super duper dark, but we'll go ahead and try it. Yeah, I kind of like that actually, but I'm just going to do the bottom, but you can kind of see, and maybe the sides if possible. Trying to get that to kind of run down. That does look cool because it kind of runs down the little creases that you made. So I'll go ahead and do this side too actually. But I like that. So I'm going to go ahead and dry this now. I absolutely love the way that this one looks. And I think that something like this would be perfect to put like a tag, and you could have some string hanging from the top of it as a little pull out in a journal. So there we go with that one, guys. Here are a couple more tags that I did off camera just to show you. So this one, I basically did a full layer of a napkin, and then I put a little piece of a flower, but then I did a bunch of spray. And then this one was just a little bit kind of the same as what we did for the first one. So I hope that you guys liked these ideas, and I hope that you will give this a try. If you have any questions, leave them below, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.